Excellent. Welcome to our talk on gender equity, strategies and tools to level the playing field. We are so excited as the NCATA to have Marge Albom, one of the pioneers in our profession. She was actually the second female president of the NATA. She is currently working as the commissioner, the VCATI, in residencies and fellowships. And she's been working on the NATA compensation task force. And so we are just so honored to have you join us. And for all of you youngsters, please look up all the contributions that she's had to our profession because it's been amazing. And I am, as I've said before, fangirling for having her here. So thank you so much for your time, and it is all yours.
Thank you, Nina. And gosh, it's an honor to be here with you in front of you in an informal situation, and I want it to be informal. I do have some some slides to go over first, but then I really would like to encourage discussion and questions. So I even have to step back and ask myself how I got into gender equity, and this was this presentation in its full scope was named as the 2024 NATA Strategic Issues in Athletic Training Lecture Series, which was a very competitive process to be selected. So way back, how it started, I was asked to give a podium presentation at the AMSSM primary care sports medicine physician meetings. And the topic they wanted me to discuss was equity or inequity in women in healthcare. Most of the research was on and is on female physicians. So as I was putting that presentation together, totally intimidated by it because it was all a physician audience, I'm like, I have to tie this into athletic training, of course. So I started to look at the history of women in athletic training in terms of equity, in terms of salary, inequities over time. And what I learned was each salary survey that was done by the NATA demonstrated and showed a greater salary inequity. So I'm like, wake up call, right? Like, I can't not use my voice for this. Wake up call. So, as past president, I do have a little bit of a voice. So, I wrote an editorial to the NATA News and they printed it, and just bringing awareness to the issue. And then from the NATA Compensation Task Force, as Nina mentioned, then President Kathy Derringer formed a subgroup on specifically gender equity. And there were three of us, Carrie Woods, who was a district director from District 10, Megan Smith from EATA from Delaware, and myself. And we're like, okay, the three of us, what do we need to do to move this agenda forward? What do we need to say? And there are a lot of things that came out of the three of us, which I'm so proud. And to me, it goes back to, okay, I am technically retired. I'm an over 50-year member of the NATA. So passion, of course, I still have passion. Of course, I still have passion for our profession and advancing it and for speaking and getting involved to something that can make a difference. So that's kind of how we got here. And then when I presented this at District 3, Nina said, can I sign you up to do a evening with us? And I'm like, absolutely, because the more we can bring awareness to this, because it's a societal issue, as we'll see, it's not just an athletic training issue, then the more we can make a difference and the more we can create a change. So all that being said in background, hope I didn't bore you, but you need a little foundation to know how I got here. So let's move on. So let's look at the facts. It is established that gender bias is pervasive and present as woven in to the organization's culture. I mean, we do have a absolute inherent bias for gender equity. So equality, the word equality and striving for equality provides equal opportunities for everyone. But workplace equity refers to a proportional representation for the same opportunities. That means everyone is provided with what they need to succeed to the level that they want to succeed. Equity levels the playing field and actually may be the key to reaching equality. So big difference between equity and equality. So last year was the 60th anniversary of the Government Equal Pay Act of 1963. So that act basically says prohibits sex-based wage discrimination, requires that men and women receive equal pay for equal work in jobs that are equal. So what's the status today? Women make 82 cents for every dollar men make. Black women make 58 cents, Hispanic women make 57 cents. So marginalized people make way less. And at the current growth rate, it would take until 2056 to close the gender pay gap. And so this is like we're going on now 61 years. Women are also met with harassment, unequal opportunities, ageism, racism, gender bias, gender discrimination, and more. I emphasize this because it's not just an athletic training issue. It's not just women in healthcare issue. It's a societal issue. And the fact that it's a societal issue brings more scope and more power to the whole argument. The disparity in men's and women's salaries cannot be explained, the Equal Pay Act says, by measurable differences between them. Ultimately, there is no valid reason that women are still paid less. And then the 2021 Biden-Harris administration initiative really focused on gender equity and equality. So when I looked at women in healthcare, and first, there's so much literature, there's so much peer-reviewed published literature on this issue with female physicians. So my call out each time I give this lecture is we've got to catch up. We can replicate the studies, just take the same study, but make it inclusive and relevant to athletic trainers, because we have the salary survey data, but I want to know why. I want to know more information about why our salary disparity is increasing over time. So it's a call out to people who want to get engaged in research and are engaged in research for a topic that is so important to our future as women, women in the workplace, not just women in athletic training. So when we look at physicians, women represent just over half of medical school applicants. In 2019, 64.3% of active pediatricians were women, on 72.4% pediatric residents and fellows were women. But look at the gaps that exist in the workplace. The salary gap between male and female physicians, 16% to 37% difference in income. Now, when you put in female orthopedic surgeons, it becomes even greater than that. 75 cents on the dollar women physicians may compared to their male counterparts. And that mirrors the income gap in society at 82 cents a dollar for every dollar paid to men. Women comprise 25% of full professors, 58% remain at the lowermost rank of instructor. Less than 20% of academic medicine department chairs are women, similar to the proportion of women who are deans. And all of that is magnified for marginalized people. Now let's look at women in athletic training. Enrollment by gender, we know there are more female students enrolled in the CATIE curriculum on the undergrad and graduate level. We know in post-professional programs, that same statistic exists, more women than men. And we know from BOC data that those certified athletic trainers are 57.17% female, 54.97% identified gender as women. So obviously, it parallels women in physician practices that there are more women practicing in healthcare. So let's look at historical perspective. So we know the growth of women in the profession advanced rapidly as a result of Title IX. I was one of those very early, one of the first 5 or 8 female certified athletic trainers because of the wave of Title IX, and very grateful for that, and very grateful for that movement and all that it's done for women in athletics. By 2021, 56% of the NATA membership were women. That's an NATA News from 2021 data. I would say it's exactly the same. It might be 57% now. Women have continue to hold leadership positions throughout the NATA. Nina mentioned um, um, Julie Max was the first female president. I was the second, and Kathleen Derringer just finished her term as a third. And women are now represented throughout healthcare, men's professional sports, NFL, NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball. I love watching NFL on Sunday and seeing all the women that are on the field with their male counterparts as athletic trainers. But gaps still exist in the workplace. So when I looked at the 2018 salary survey, NATA salary survey, women athletic trainers earned on average $8,700 per year less than their male counterparts. Prior to that, like 2016, it was getting to be more even. All right, that was 2018. Then we did the 2021 survey. This is going the wrong direction, right? I'm like, whoa. Women athletic trainers earned on average $11,000 less than their male counterparts. That's a huge jump. And the data from the 23 survey, the one that was just done last year, same trend, over $12,000 less. So, I mean, this is a wake-up call, like what's going on here, right? And I really believe we have a personal responsibility first to make sure we're aware of this. Like, I don't even know how many, when we were giving this lecture, I didn't do it throughout the country. We had representatives in each district give it. But just the wake-up call of like, whoa, I didn't even know that that was happening. And then what are we going to do about it, right? We'll get to that. Then leadership and promotions in the NCAA Division I institutions, 81.7% male athletic trainers are head associate ADs for sports medicine, director of sports medicine, have that director title compared to 17.14% female athletic trainers. And in the Power 5 conferences, 92.3% male athletic trainers hold leadership positions compared to 6.15% female. Similar data in other practice settings, and in the BOC in 2021 said the profession is more male dominated in terms of administrative roles or higher roles. So what are the underlying mechanisms of gender inequity? So this is a complex issue that's been studied for years. I mean, there are power relations that structure how societies are organized and how ideologies are shaped. The gender stereotypes, consciously or non-consciously, are institutionalized in policies and decision making. And, we have this female and male perceived differences, right? Nurturing versus analytical skills. And there's a value bias, right? Analytical skills are valued a lot more than nurturing. I'm grabbing a sip of water. Hang on. Workplace interactions occur within a hierarchy of gender status beliefs that advantage men and disadvantage women. And we know this. Look at the organizational barriers. Gender stereotyping, gender bias, gender discrimination. Yes, there is still a good old boys network, and we know that, especially with female athletic trainers who are working with a men's team with male coaches. We still get that feedback. Those barriers are still there, and they need to be identified and addressed. So how do you identify gender inequity in your workplace? So it starts really with the interview process. So this is a great, and I'm sure Nina will make the slide deck available for you all to access, and the QR codes also. But it starts with the interview process when you're interviewing for a job. And remember, when you get to that point, you're interviewing that employer as much as they're interviewing you. So know the language of compensation, which is a great document that was prepared by this subgroup of the NATA Compensation Task Force. It's like 4 or 5 pages and a must read for anybody who's going into an interview process or really wants to command the language of compensation. Understand your fair market value. So fair market value is based on your practice setting, your geographic area, And then your education and qualifications, experience, skill set, results and accomplishments, certifications, but understand and really have a grasp of your fair market value. And that takes some study, and that takes some looking at data, and that takes a commitment to, okay, how do I really grasp this? And how am I comfortable articulating the words that go along with that? That's our responsibility. Match a job description to a benchmark job. So when you look at, and there are lots of cases when you look at case law on gender equity issues, the job has to be the same. The description, the duties, responsibilities has to be exactly the same with the other athletic trainers that you're comparing yourself to. Always look at the total compensation package. Maybe the base salary isn't what you want, but then maybe there are better healthcare or retirement benefits, sick leave, CEU budget, professional membership fees for your state, district, or national membership, certification fees, professional development. So all of this is in the total compensation package. And then utilize, again, the Gender Equity Toolkit, which is about a 30-page document that our little subgroup put together. And Carrie and Megan did an awesome job with that. That's a great resource for you, great resource. So once you feel a sense that there's inequity, what do you do about it, right? Well, a lot of people are afraid to go forward. But we're all athletic trainers and we shouldn't be afraid, right? So document inequities and support that with data, 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 data. It can't be, I've got an opinion and he makes more than I do. You've got to support it with data. Create awareness, engagement. I mean, one of my favorite old time quotes is a rising tide raises all ships, right? We have colleagues in every workplace that we're there for each other, male and female. And we have to develop a network of allies and a peer group, including men and women, to really bring awareness of this situation and, and support an effort to create change. Build a multi-dimensional mentoring team. I'll talk about that in a second. Encourage open communication. And I love this. This isn't just about addressing gender equity. This is what I believe every professional, well, every person should have. You, of course, need a mentor. We're all familiar with mentors. Mentors share potential opportunities with you. They're a trusted sounding board. You're close with them. They advise you. But then you really need a sponsor. So a sponsor shares your accomplishments with others. A sponsor promotes your name. A sponsor says to somebody at a higher level, hey, do you know Megan Smith? She is great. You need to watch her for a rising star in this company or in this school, this university, or in this healthcare system. I have seen that work with men to men. I've seen it work men to women. You need a sponsor, and intentionally. Coach, coach focuses on enhancing your performance. Maybe it's speaking, maybe it's presenting, maybe it's interpersonal relationships. The coach will focus on your performance. And a peer, these are the most important, a trusted colleague or colleagues that will tell you what you don't necessarily want to hear, but will be brutally honest with you. And you have that trust with that person or people to really advance you in your personal growth. I love this multi-dimensional mentoring team. Remember, addressing gender inequity, you've got to be a self-advocate. Here's in my current soapbox. It's like, all right, we're athletic trainers and we say, oh, we never like to talk about ourselves. We're service people. We're behind the scenes. We don't do it well, but we have to do it well. I mean, in your whole life, when you said, I don't do it well, did you back away from it? Did you back away from that in your degree program, in your current practice, in your life? No, like you get on top of it. You learn how to do it well. And you learn the language of being a self-advocate. A great book, Brag, The Art of Tuning Your Own Horn Without, blowing it. Great book, easy read. inexpensive paperback. Quantify your value. NATA has great resources for the value models. It's there, use it. Promote athletic training and education. Develop financial and negotiation skills. Again, it's like, oh, we're athletic trainers. We don't know much about that. Find out about it, learn about it, make it so easy for you to talk about these things that it's empowering to you. Like you want to talk about all of these things and share your knowledge in these areas. This was a great study published in the JAT by Julie Calavario. Study results. More than half of athletic trainers did not attempt to negotiate their salary. Almost 3/4 did not negotiate terms of employment. Gender was present as a significant factor for both the reason for not negotiating and the level of success with negotiation. And women were more likely to be uncomfortable with the negotiation process. This is embarrassing. I mean, the study like puts it in our face. We don't do this well. We have to do this well. We have to do this well for ourselves individually to compete in the healthcare marketplace. Need another sip of water. Hold on. I'm a big proponent of developing leadership skills. And I think when I was growing up in the profession, there weren't that many books written about it. There weren't that many seminars about it. You kind of learned as you went. But I think that graphic of leadership, inspire people, empower people, share a vision, and lead change. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, in this whole issue, leading change. I love this quote from Matt Coots. Matt is athletic trainer, as many of you know. He did a leadership series in the NATA News in January. I love this quote. Creating greater leadership capacity should be the focus of every athletic trainer's lifelong professional development. It's only when leadership becomes a lifestyle, not a position or title to be pursued, that it becomes empowering. I love that quote. Fear of retribution? Absolutely. You're saying, I'm not going out on that limb, and I'm not going to be that person. This is where your team comes in. You're not alone. You have open communication with your trusted team, your mentoring team, your allies. You document everything, conversations, email, communications. You utilize HR, your DEI resources through your state association, district and national. Have open communication and document. So the future, I'm really high on the future. We have to commit to scholarly research focused on gender equity issues. We need specific data for athletic trainers. And like I said before, you have the study models that have been done with female physicians. We can just replicate those. Create awareness at your workplace with a team of all genders. Become active with the NATA DEI groups and state and district. You're already active. You're here tonight. So you're there. Utilize the resources by the compensation task force subgroups, gender equity subgroup, gender equity toolkit. Complete the NATA salary surveys. We need more data. But, one of my issues is the salary survey only goes out to NATA members, where right now there are 58,000 certified athletic trainers, according to the BOC. 58,000 aren't NATA members. So we need to, leadership needs to work at opening up who that survey goes to, so we get a really true representation of data regarding salary. Be a self-advocate. Know your value and lift each other up, and commit to developing your leadership skills. It's important to change the future. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to make a difference, each one of us, personally, in our own world, in our own life, here to make a difference. That's all I've got. So I'm going to unshare the screen We'll see what happens. All right. You never know when I push buttons on one of these things.